All right, all right. How's everybody doing today? So real quick, we're not going to take too long. We're going to jump right into it. If you have the video, make sure you share the video. We're going to talk about Cam Newton today. We're going to talk about the situation, what happened with him and the young man, and where do we go from here? And was he wrong? Was Cam Newton wrong for how he responded? Was Cam Newton right? I want everybody to kind of share. Make sure you post your comments in the chat as well. I have two amazing people from Detroit on my show. So, I already know this is going to be a great show because I got two great people on here. So the first thing I want to do is we need to break down the situation. So there was a few days ago, Cam Newton was at a camp. I was doing some research on it. I'm not sure if it was Cam Newton's camp or it was just a camp that he was participating in. Either way, a kid confronted him. And there was actually a pretty different exchange. So I'm going to show you the video first, and then I'm going to bring on my guest. But let's show you the video. What happened at this this camp that Cam Newton was at? All right. So let's see here. Make sure we got. All right. Here we go. All right, let me show you the video real quick. I'm not sure why is it doing that. All right, here we go.
No, disrespect him. If you want some attention, I'm gonna give you some attention. The right way, bro. The right way. When do y'all play? What was y'all record today then? No, 2-1. What did you do? I wasn't able to see because y'all was too.
Cameras on me.
All right, bro. What did he do, man? Does he play?
He got speed.
He got speed.
No, he's letting him speed.
Oh.
You're gonna see.
Huh?
You're gonna see.
Man, don't act shy, nah, bro. Don't act shy.
I'm right here.
I'm asking. I couldn't see today.
You gonna watch YouTube? Oh, you watch YouTube? I know you do. You
Cafeteria crocs, man. No, stop.
What you do?
No, I'm really trying to ask you. I'm trying to see what you.
We do that shit for real though.
I'm like,
we rep that 215.
205?
215.
215. Okay, cool. Bro. I'm just like, please don't be one dimensional. Like you said something to me, then I'm really trying to talk to you. I'm not trying to crack no jokes. I'm just really trying to ask a simple question, bro. I'm sorry. It's your fault why everybody's looking, but I'm really just trying to ask a question. But you never said what you did. You said you're gonna see.
All right, so I'm gonna bring on my guest here today. I got the good Bishop Harris. Bishop, he's the bishop over Total Life Christian Ministries, and like I told you, he does a lot in the city. He works with Ceasefire. He's already represented here. We have to bring him on another day to talk about Ceasefire, and also Coach Ward, who is the coach of King High School, one of the best basketball programs in the city, one of the best coaches in the city. Like I said, we have some great people on here to discuss this today. Now, Bishop Harris, let's start with you, because I remember you gave a little different opinion. I've been watching social media. A lot of people thought that Cam Newton responded in a good way. So tell me, how did you think Cam Newton should have responded in this situation?
Well, I want to start off with saying I don't necessarily judge what he did as wrong versus right as much as I do beneficial versus non-beneficial. Is what he was trying to accomplish, was it benefited by the way that he was? And That's something that, in the first part of the video, which this is my first time seeing most of the second part. That's the first part of the video, how young people just are. I'm not saying that the young man wasn't wrong, but obviously the young man is at this camp, and he's at this camp to prove himself. So, as young men are going to do, they're going to try to take on the person who's everybody's looking at the camp, or who's everybody's looking up to. That's the way of the world. That's Lord of the Flies, right? I mean, that's the aggression of the sport. That's how it rolls. You find the big man and you take him down. So even though it was dishonorable from him, but I expected that from him because he's the one who feels like he has to prove himself in this space. Cam, on the other hand, he's a superstar. He has to prove nothing to no one. And so in the sense of trying to get this answer or being, whether it was his camp or not, is big man on the totem pole. We didn't see anybody else there. It was him. So as a result of that, I just kind of felt like, when he started the back and forth, and then you can hear kind of like the insults coming, because the whole response on "I'm rich" wasn't even directly related to what the young man was accusing him of. The young man was accusing him of not being relevant right now. And he took that, I would have thought if he was going to be relevant to the conversation, that he might bring up his stats or that he might bring up his accomplishments. He went straight to, "But I'm rich."
Okay. So, Coach Ward, tell me, what do you think about the situation? I know you had a lot to say about it on social media. Just kind of want to get your take on it as well.
Well, prior to, I never saw the video until you provided that for us. When I heard about it, and a couple people had kind of informed me of it, I read, I read what was stated, and I think for me, it's kind of a microcosm of what is going on with our young people today. And Bishop made a great point. You're at a camp, you're there to try to prove yourself, but it's the thing for me, Bishop, is when I look at our pros, we've had a few of them. Being in the metropolis, being in Detroit, we've had guys that go to the league, baseball, football, basketball, and I see how the young men interact with Derek Coleman, Voshon Leonard, the guys that have been in the league who have made it to that plateau, which is a dream. So now you have an opportunity to interact with someone like that who has achieved. I'm talking about, Cam won the Heisman Trophy. He won a national championship. He played in the Super Bowl. He was an MVP of the league at some point. And I think, Bishop, what Cam was doing, because I wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't have said, "Well, I'm rich." But I think in his defense, what Cam was trying to say to the young fella, because again, sometimes you got to meet people where they are, good, bad, or indifferent. I think Cam was trying to let the young fella know, at the end of the day, everything that you're saying may be valid, but I'm rich doing what you're trying to do right now. So I love what he did on the second portion of the video, and really say, "Man, I'm just trying to talk to you. I'm really trying to give you some tidbits that can be beneficial to you." So, when you got guys that have that kind of status, let's not even talk about money. When you have guys that talk about that kind of that have that kind of status, for you to even be able to be able to reach out and give them some dap, I just think I'm sure Cam was caught off guard, because I was alarmed as I was reading it. And really, Bishop, TK, it was a situation when I read it, I really thought that it was one of those internet things. Y'all know what I'm saying? Where somebody really is kind of making something up.
Yeah.
So as I began to read and I saw that this had some validity, I'm thinking, young brother, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do it because this man has achieved literally everything that you're at this camp now. Everything that you have dreamed of from a football perspective, this gentleman has done it. So I just think it kind of is a microcosm. And TK, you and I have talked about this before. And Lord knows my brother Daryl Harris, Bishop Daryl Harris, and I have talked about this a million times. I think Cam being a younger guy, he's not 50. I think he's maybe late 20s, maybe early 30s now. I think he was kind of saying, all right, if we're going to hip hop this thing, we're going to hip hop this thing. We're going to talk. And then I'm going to educate you. So it's a bad situation. But unfortunately, it's a microcosm of our community right now. And that's the sad part.
No, sure. Go ahead, Bishop.
I think that where you are, I guess I'm in that same space. I most certainly don't want to come across as if the young man was right? Because he obviously wasn't. He evoked the response that he wanted.
Yep.
To embarrass Cam. And the way that he took that embarrassment was to come to where I am, you know. And when we have such a status, and when we earn it, and when we work for it, and when we put everything into it, then to whom much is given. So I'm just saying, expectation. What I'm expecting from you, this guy's at your camp. This young man is at your camp. So I'm expecting you to best way, because played that second part, he's still trying to talk to him, but right now the young man is turned on now. He didn't flame him. He didn't put him on 10. So now the young man ain't even really listening to what he's saying. He's still trying to come out with, yeah, you'll see. You know, he like, I'm just trying to ask you a question. Yeah, you'll see. He's not, because he flamed on now. And so just in the light of getting to where I think you're absolutely right that Cam was trying to get to, I think a bit of that was, you know, the emotionalism that he displayed in the sense of, okay, yeah, you talking to me disrespectfully. And at the same time, I need to let you know. Sometimes the best way to do that is really to have no response. Like what he should have been saying was what the young man was saying. You'll see, you know.
Okay. So Coach, if that was your player, what would you do?
if you know, DC does a summer league in the city every year. Obviously this summer he didn't do one. And you know, the basketball world and all the people that he has in his circle, you know, you look at Gary Payton came to a game, NBA Hall of Famer, came to a couple games over at Henry Ford High School, not this past summer, summer before last. So we made it when GP walked in, we always say, man, y'all go over there and go give Gary Payton some daps, Hall of Famer. You know, there's some reverence involved in that. But had one of my guys even acted as if they didn't want to hear what one of the pros was saying, I would have, yeah, it would have been something different. It would have been a different type of dialogue, I can tell you that. But here's the thing with that though. Let's say that wasn't Cam Newton. Let's say it was Daryl Harris. Let's say it was Daryl Harris and he had played football at Osborne High School or something. And one of them young men said, man, oh man, you wasn't nothing. So it wouldn't have had the notoriety. It wouldn't have gone viral. No one would have said, you know, Bishop Daryl Harris was disrespected today by a young teenager. Nobody would have gotten that news. I would have had the same problem with that as I do with this, though. How dare this young man speak to an adult male? And I've got another thought about this. Now, this is where it gets good. Had that been Peyton Manning, would that young man have done that?
Probably not. More than likely.
Wow.
Yeah, if that same young brother to have that level of disrespect for Cam Newton, would he have said that to Matthew Stafford? I don't think so. So what it shows is the dissatisfaction that this young black male has for himself and other black men. And that's what really struck me. More so than it being Cam and all of that. How dare you talk to an adult black male like that in front of everybody?
And see, I'm where I really am. If you remember, the first response that I gave on your page was, this is what we were talking about at the conference, the men's conference, about dishonorable. Right?
Yes.
How
Yes.
our men don't really honor, and they don't know how to honor, and they don't know what to honor. And so you just said is really where I'm coming from, because it's apparent to me he went there to shame Cam. Like, his mindset was, oh, this ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so my expectation now, I just feel like, had that been a George Ward, or had that been me, even if we don't have that kind of notoriety, if that had been me, we would have talked to him, but it would have been about us.
Yeah.
I don't have to prove nothing to you, young brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it ain't got nothing to do with how much money I made. It ain't got to do. I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna talk to me like that at my camp.
Yeah.
And you gonna
And I think, like, you know, one of the things that just kept crossing my mind is, like you said, I was watching a clip of Eric Thomas and how he kind of went off at a school because the people at the school was kind of disrespecting him. Like, you know, it's like, I'm out here trying to help you all. And so to be blessed in that presence, then to come back like, hey, you know, you terrible, disrespecting the brother. You know, like, how do you respond to something like that? So I can see he probably was caught off guard from it from the very beginning, you know.
that he was caught off guard because he's
Right.
walking away and he's kind of like, I'm rich. Then when he comes back, it's kind of like, where your dad at? And I think that was the moment when he kind of caught himself like, yeah, like, why am I talking to you? You know what I'm saying? Why am I even being flustered? And every man gets that, right? I mean, that's why I said I don't think it's a matter to me whether he was right or wrong. I'm just looking at the benefit of it. You know what I'm saying? There's expectation of, you know, this professionalism. Cam, you have nothing to prove. And that's my whole point. You have nothing to prove. Whether this your camp or not, you the man on this camp. You the only person here that can hold the records and do the things that you're able to say that you've done. You do not at all have to minimize yourself to any young man. Coach Ward would have walked over to my man and said, so let me tell you what we're not going to do.
But you know what? You're right, Bishop. But I just think for me, you know, he could have handled it differently. But Bishop, as we talk to these young men every day, we know, I really thought that Cam's response initially, when he said, "I'm rich," I thought he was saying it almost to make the young brother. I thought maybe his boys would clown him, be like, "Yeah, dog, he got you," and then that would have been that.
Yeah.
But see,
when I saw the young fella still going, see, because for me, if Cam wanted to really flame him, so to speak, he could have rolled off his resume. These young people now, it's almost like everything is in black and white. Either you rich or you ain't. Either you got some money or you don't. And so I'm thinking that when Cam said that, I'm thinking the young blood was gonna be like, you know what? You got me, man. Let me realize who I'm talking to, and let me realize I'm out of place.
Yeah.
The unfortunate piece, as people has mentioned, is nobody grabbed him. None of his peers grabbed him.
That's my point. That's why I'm using the word beneficial versus non-beneficial. Because my point is, what Cam was attempting to do, he almost lost it.
Yep.
Now he did come back, and I give him kudos for that. Especially thank you, Tucson, for playing the second portion of the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talking to you, I was like, well, just the context of what we saw. If that's all I have to go with, then, you know, I'm saying both of them could have done a lot better job.
Yeah.
I'm holding him just responsible for being the leader in this aspect. And I think that he learned a valuable lesson from this. And that is, you can't let these young guys, like, for me, what coach is asking about the young man and would he have responded like that? I'm wondering, would Cam have responded like that to a player's son that he knew? Or, you know what I'm saying, another coach at another camp who challenged. Like, Cam's whole job as a football player is to take the intimidation of others and without responding verbally, show his worth. Like, he didn't have to argue about any of that. So, you know, I'm just balancing it out. I don't think it was right or wrong. I don't want to put it. I just think it was a better way that maybe he could have gotten, because, you know, quoting that he was rich and doing all of that, it didn't get him what he really wanted, which we find out in the second part. What he really wanted was to talk to the young man. But after that went there, young man was closed. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I think about, so how do you, if you have to have that conversation with them, because like I was thinking to myself, what professional player is going to want to come to a camp like that and try to work with kids and they disrespecting them? You know, because that's what I was thinking of, the bigger picture. Like, you know, I'm not about to work with these kids. They're too disrespectful. Maybe, you know, and I don't even think it's disrespect as it relates to, oh, it's a conversation or he called them out. Sometimes kids can just be disrespectful. Like you said, Coach Ward, somebody could be coming talking, they'll turn their head or act like they're not paying attention. It's like, yo, this is somebody taking their time out for you. Why are kids like, why are they not appreciative of what's happening right now? Like, what's giving them that problem, you know?
Wow. Bishop, you respond first. You respond first.
I was going to let you shoot it, Coach.
You know what? It kind of ties into what we just said a little while ago. It's an unfortunate situation. And Bishop and I were fortunate enough to speak at a symposium, not this past weekend, the weekend before last. And I just think for us in our community, it is the lack of love and trust and appreciation for the adult Black male itself. And so that level of disrespect we see quite a bit, because as I listened to it again, I hadn't heard it. As I listened to the young fella, he was attacking him. I mean, you know, even after Cam said it, and Cam said it in a smooth way. He said, "I'm rich," and he was really just trying to say, "Young fella, get it. You know, come on, leave me alone. I ain't came here for that." He can say that I'm rich, and for the young fella to continue to attack him at that time, what I looked at is Cam represented something other than just a football player.
Mm-hmm.
Cam represented something that was very distasteful to the young fella, and the young fella seized the moment and that opportunity and to take some shots at someone. And I think it was bigger than football, and I think it was bigger than Cam. And it's unfortunate.
It's like, have y'all seen the movie Drumline, right?
Absolutely.
That's the attitude of a lot of the young people. It's not just that I can go somewhere and be good at what I do and learn the craft and this and that and the other. You know, my greatest scene in Drumline, well, I got two of them. First one is when, you know, the young man is going to show up, the leader of the drum section, and the coach is standing over there watching. So he does the same rhythm and everything. He does it faster. The other one drops a stick. And then the coach comes over, band leader comes over and said, now in your attempt to make him look like he was dumb so you could take his spot, what was made yourself look stupid.
Yep.
And don't look down. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't that it started off in this way of disrespect, but my second greatest scene in Drumline is when he's sitting in the office after they found out that he couldn't read music, that he wasn't as great as he thought he was. And he all of this out. You came to my house and this and that and the other. And my man, I came to your house because you lied. I came to your house because I didn't know that you did it. And he said, I made the greatest mistake. Because that is what's going on with a lot of young people. They don't have those boundaries and whatnot. So when they come to play, this is nothing, that this is that and the other. So their disdain it was automatic. It wouldn't have mattered who professional, I believe, camp that was. He was there that day to show that he was the greatest football player. And Cam just happened to walk into a situation where he was like, "You gonna be my proof today. I'm gonna take you down."
Yeah. Well, let me show you real quick before we end. The young man did apologize. So he posted something on Twitter. It wasn't, he put it from his iPhone notes. It says, first and foremost, I want to express my deepest apologies to Cam Newton, my entire organization, and my coaches for my actions at the 7 versus 7 tournament this past weekend. I did not intend for it to get as far as it did. First, I would like to start off by saying my parents never taught me to be disrespectful. As a football player, I let my competitive side get the best of me, and it was a huge miscommunication. It was in the midst of the moments, and I realize now how a lot of you took it as disrespect. I never meant to humiliate and let anyone down. I'm very appreciative for 7 versus 7 to even allow me to be a part of the community and allowing me to be a part of the team I'm currently on. I realize this can dictate my future as a young man, having very big dreams, goals, but I will not allow this to stop me from getting where I need to be. So again, I apologize, and I hope I can be forgiven.
See what I'm saying, though?
What y'all think, Coach? What you think, Bishop?
Go ahead, Coach.
Somebody told him, hey, man.
Yeah, you made a mess.
Hey, man. Hey, what Denzel say? What Denzel say in the movie?
Oh, you know that
You done messed up, right?
Oh, that's
No, but that's exactly what happened. Because in that letter, I'm not here. It doesn't feel genuine to me that really came from him.
Yeah.
And you just messed up, right? And so, but I do believe one thing he said, that competitiveness. See, because, and this is something I think Coach talked about before. In being a coach, yeah, you have to teach competitiveness, but you have to teach competitiveness with respect, competitiveness with honor. Because if you don't, then you got this one person on the field or on the court that feels like everybody is there for them. And unfortunately, we've turned people, especially sports, we turn them into superstars. We'll talk about a kid like he won the whole game by himself, but he didn't, or we'll talk about the quarterback, or we'll talk about, the basketball player. And so when these kids come up, they think it's a one-person show. And it's like, no, you got to play with the whole team.
Well,
now Derek Williams says that kid has heard what everybody else has been hearing about Cam recently. He just did what people do in the barbershop. We still have to hold Cam accountable. He lost credibility when he turned around and started throwing money at him. Well, what do y'all say to that?
Well, Bishop already said, I will say this, Derek, thanks for tuning in, man. But I will say this. Cam had to say something. See, again, when you're at a camp like that, the young men are right there. It gives them a great opportunity to hear you. And you also want the young people to see that, you not that you ain't no punk, but I'm still a real human being. So, it's almost like they started playing the dozens a little bit.
Yeah.
And for me, that's how I took it. And I will say this. Willie Burton and Terrence Wheeler all chimed in on the post earlier. And they all said the same thing. It's just that type of disrespect. Yeah. You know what? A man has got, you supposed to come to him and say, hey, man, Cam, man, what could I do? And you're looking at the young fella. The young fella looked like he's probably about 5'7", 5'8", probably about 145, 150 pounds. You standing here next to this guy. Why don't you find out what it took for him to get to that level outside of his God-given ability? Yeah. So yeah, he had to say something, Derek. In my mind, he had to say something, and he had to let the young fella know, for everything that you're trying to do, I made it.
Yeah.
Don't try to clown me right now.
This is not the barbershop. This is not the barbershop.
This ain't the barbershop. And you are in front of your peers.
Exactly.
You're in front of all of these guys, and you're willing to speak to a pro like that, like you said, who was given his time.
Yeah.
There are very few people. There are very few people who have been able to say they stood 10 feet within a pro.
Mm-hmm.
To say, man, you know what, man, I gave Cam Newton some dap. Lori Lynn Ward, I happen to know her quite a bit.
Yeah.
She bears my last name. You know what? That's my wife.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you
Difference in what that is had Cam walked into the barbershop in the hood, grown man would have shown love and respect regardless. Notice I said grown man.
Yeah.
and that's where I'm getting to. And again, that's the only reason why I'm holding Cam to a higher spot, because Cam is an adult.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work with kids on the camp. Because again, what you just said, Coach, is there is that part of playing the sports and everything else where you get that kind of back and forth, and you do have to put people in their place, especially because you always got that one, you know, a sports team, that's at church. I always got that one. I always got that one that's going, you know, come back and challenge whatever. But what
You're right. You're right.
But what I can't afford to do, I can't afford to let him draw me into that debate and say something flip, because what's going to happen 9 times out of 10, especially if we're dealing with young people, notice how they didn't go with Cam. You absolutely right. One of them young people should have been like, man, what is you doing? But they didn't challenge it because, and what that shows you is, in their mind, who won? The young.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they take the young. I mean, you could tell the young person been feeling the heat because people like, hey, you didn't disrespected him. You was at a camp. You're not gonna have a chance. You know. It reminds me of the brother that was here playing for Cass, and he had the issue with the law. You know, like it reminds me of some of that situation because he's kind of messed up his brand. Even, you know, when I saw the exchange with him after Cam came over, I felt like that exchange was a little disrespectful. Like,
It was.
Yeah, I'm like, he cursing at him, all that type of stuff. Is like, what?
What I hated is nobody strong armed the young fella, said, man, get your butt over here.
Yeah.
None of his friends. I'm not talking about a coach though, Bishop. Bishop, you or I or TK shouldn't have had to do it.
No.
One of his peers. Now there were a lot of young guys at this football camp, man.
And
all the people.
And see, it's called groupthink, right?
Yes.
Now, when they got him back outside, they probably did like, man, do you know what you just did? Like, boy. But see, it didn't happen there. You know why? Because in a groupthink situation, everybody's waiting on somebody else to go first.
There you go.
And then because if they don't see anybody move, so now the young people, they're like, oh, you know, oh, yeah, oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, they know in the back of their head what's really happening. But they waiting on one of the other young people to step up, and they're waiting for Cam to just put an end to it, which I guess is what had Cam went just to the end where he ended up. I think that was appropriate. Now, in his humanity, I understand that, you know, if somebody catches off guard, you know, hey, I'm bishop of a whole church. But if I wake up in the middle of the night and it's dark in the room and I stub my toe against the bed, I don't know what's gonna come out my mouth.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and so I could be apologetic about it or whatever at the end, but it happened. I'm just saying, in light of everything that happened and went on, you know, I don't call Cam wrong. All of us can have a moment when we get in our emotions. Yeah. All of us can have a moment when we lose, especially with disrespectful young kids.
Yeah.
Have that.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like he could have really. I don't know if I watched the video a few times. So Cam kind of came over with his team, and his team was really like on the kid's head too. He could. I felt like Cam responded in a way. You know, I thought he was okay. Like when he was like, "All right, man, I'm rich though."
I thought he was above board. And
yeah,
I think that Sandrew King just made a great point.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened, Cam would have been on the losing end.
Yeah.
You know, in some people's eyes. Yeah. I'm wondering how do we get to this point? And
well, we bring each other down. Now we bring our
Yeah.
people that we love and respect, we bring them down now.
Well,
That's
Something that we would have never done before.
Well,
yeah.
which is the reason why this was so important, because I feel like that was an opportunity for Cam to display what it would be to show honor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He did come to the kids level, and I get it. What he thought was going to happen was he'd come down his kids level, and then he could come and he could do it. But what happened? The unfortunate part of that is he came down to the kids level, and he was never able to bring the kid back up.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think that young fella, I think that young fella, and it goes back to what you were just talking about, TK. This isn't his first time making a fool out of himself.
Yeah.
No. You know, you everything is progressive. So he's made a fool out of himself before.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping that's why nobody kind of stepped in. I think some of the guys are like, oh man, here he goes. He done messed up again.
Yeah.
But that's where we as the adults, the guys that's over the 7-on-7, really, you know, speaking of the 7-on-7s, Curtis Blackwell, who's a King grad, you know, did a great job up at Michigan State on their coaching staff, football program. He does a great job with the 7-on-7s here, with those young men here, and they go all over the country. And I can just about guarantee you this. Blackwell's crew, none of those guys would have done anything like that because he's already prepped them ahead of time.
there you go.
This is how we're going to conduct ourselves. You're not going to get out here and embarrass me. And he does a great job for those young men. And I would hope, as opposed to just getting a lesson for the young fella who did this, I hope those that are over the 7-on-7 on his team, that's over his team, his coaches, hold themselves accountable and say, you know what? I've got to do a better job because this young man didn't embarrass himself. He embarrassed those that took him there and those that were responsible for him.
Yeah.
And
now that's how I look at it.
I wholeheartedly agree.
We'll give you the last word, Bishop.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Hey man, Tucson, thanks for the opportunity. George, opportunity being here. I just ended with, again, I don't think it was a situation of right or wrong. I think all of us had that moment, you know, just as we move forward. I'm hoping the same thing that Coach hoped, that the whole team learned a lesson from this. And that is, we got to do a better job at setting the precedent when people come in, because you should have known up front. If I talk to any adult on this field in this manner, I'm done.
Hey, that's it.
And if
that's it.
it's important to me, and if where I'm trying to go is important to me, see, because this is the thing, Tucson. In his letter, he still flip around and say, but I'm going to make it no matter what. No, I need you to acknowledge that you just put a dent in your making it. Like, you really might not make it now. Over something small as you not being able to manage your emotions. And
and he'll always be the kid. He'll always be the young fella that is remembered as the dude that tried to clown Cam Newton. I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
He will always be that young man.
And you said something important. What coach gonna pick that up? Oh, no problem. You said he's telling me that I'm nothing because you think you do. Look, this is not a Willie Beeman. This is not.
That's right. Willie Beeman. Yeah. That's right.
No, I hear
That's right.
And the coach is like, you know what? You too difficult to deal with trading off the sub bell. So do something.
There we go.
It's really important that we get this sense and that we teach young people that you can get nowhere when you try to belittle those who have gone before you.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're the trailblazers.
There you go.
And they have to know that before
they get there.
Yeah.
Before they get there.
Before they get there, for sure.
I appreciate this.
No, I appreciate, like I told you all, I had the best two people in town to talk about this situation. People deal with young people every day, and I really want to bring them on to talk about actually how they really impact Detroit on a daily basis, because Detroit would not be the place it is without these people. So I'm thankful that you all took the time out your day to join us, okay? So appreciate you all. Join us back again when we come on. Thank you all for joining the Good Night Show. All right.
Right. Peace out, man.
Peace out. Appreciate y'all, man.